Good morning. This hearing is called to order. Members and guests will please take their seats. This is the Committee on Rules, and today is Monday, April 29th, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll to take attendance, and members that are here will please indicate that you are present when your name is called. Mr. Clerk?
Councilmember Squealer.
Present.
Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Gaultier. Councilmember Driscoll.
Here.
A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. This is the public hearing of the Committee on Rules regarding bills number 240192, 240215, 240216, 240242, 240244, 240247, and 240248. And can we have the clerk please read the title of these bills?
Bill number 240192, approving the Fifth Amendment of the redevelopment proposal for the Tioga United Urban Renewal Area, being the area generally bounded by Hunting Park Avenue on the north, Broad Street, Germantown Avenue, Venango Street, 15th Street, Allegheny Avenue, and Germantown Avenue on the east, Glenwood Avenue and Lehigh Avenue on the south, and 23rd Street, Allegheny Avenue and 22nd Street on the west, including Fifth Amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan, which provides inter alia for changes that would make it consistent with the Tioga Redevelopment Area Plan and generally consistent with the most recent comprehensive plan approved by City Planning Commission of the City of Philadelphia. Bill number 240215, to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within the area bounded by Allegheny Avenue, American Street, Lippincott Street, 2nd Street, Gurney Street, Indiana Avenue, 3rd Street, Gurney Street, Clearfield Street, and 5th Street. Bill number 240216, to amend the zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within the area bounded by Somerset Street, Orkney Street, Cumberland Street, and 5th Street. Bill number 240242, amending Section 14-500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, amending Section 14.524 entitled FDO 4th Street District Overlay District, to establish use regulations on medical facilities under certain terms and conditions. Also, Bill number 240244, amending Section 14-524 of the Philadelphia Code entitled FVO 5th District Overlay District by removing the exemption from the landscaping standards in the zoning code, all under certain terms and conditions. Also, Bill number 240247, to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within the area bounded by Kensington Avenue, Buckius Street, Frankfort Avenue, and Tioga Street. Also, Bill number 240248, amending Section 14-533 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Minimum Income Neighborhood Overlay District, to expand the applicable area of the vicinity of Buckius Street and Tioga Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Before we begin, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before we begin, I want to announce for the record that the bill number 240242 is being held at the request of the sponsor. Also, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Squilla for a motion for withdrawal of bill number 240248.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Request for the sponsor, Councilmember Driscoll. I move the bill number 240248 be withdrawn.
Thank you. The chair knows for the record that Councilmember Kathy Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and bill number 240248 has been withdrawn. And will the clerk please call the first panel we have to testify this morning on bill number 240192.
The witness is Angel Rodriguez, Senior Vice President of Land Services at PHDC.
Thank you. Welcome. Good morning. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. I'm Angel Rodriguez. I'm here in my capacity as Deputy Executive Director of Real Estate for the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority. So good morning, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee. I'm here to speak in support of Bill number 240192, which is the Fifth Amendment to the redevelopment proposal for the Tioga Urban Renewal Area. This bill would authorize the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to facilitate the implementation of the most recent comprehensive plan approved by the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission has determined that the proposed revisions in this amended proposal are consistent with Philadelphia 2035 citywide vision and the North District Plan. The current comprehensive plan identifies forward-thinking goals and strategies for achieving new and appropriate development within the city and will direct the redevelopment of the Tioga Urban Renewal Area by zoning code controls, guidelines as detailed by the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. This change in use that is proposed in this amended proposal is required within the Tioga Urban Renewal Area to redevelop the site located at 3030 North 20th Street into a mixed-use project of approximately 48 affordable residential units. That would be a LIHTC project, that's low-income housing tax credits for residents in between 30 and 60% of AMI, and commercial uses by amending the zoning code controls and guidelines as detailed by the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee, I respectfully request favorable consideration of Bill number 240192 and would also ask the suspension of the council rules to allow the first reading on May 2nd, 2024.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions or comments from members of this committee for this panel? No? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone else here to testify on the bill whose name has not been called? Seeing none. I want to thank the witness for participation on bill number 240192. And if we could now have the witness call for 240215.
The witness is Paula Bumbalow Burns,
The microphone.
Legislation, Philadelphia City Planning Commission.
The mic is on.
Sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Good. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good morning, members of the Rules Committee. I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 240215, introduced into City Council on March 21st, 2024 by Councilmember Lozada. Bill number 240215 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations for the property located at 239 West Indiana Avenue in the Fairhill neighborhood of the North Planning District. This bill will rezone 239 West Indiana Avenue, changing the ICMX Industrial Commercial Mixed-Use Zoning to SPPOA Parks and Open Space Active Zoning Designation. The Hispanic Association of Contractors and Enterprises, known as HACE, a local community development corporation, will manage the property and proposes to use the site for a public park. The park will feature amenities such as a playground, restrooms, concessions, seating areas, and space for food trucks. The change in zoning will allow for a much-needed community park and matches the recommendation of the Philadelphia 2035 Comprehensive Plan. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 240215 at its public meeting on April 18, 2024, and recommended the bill for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions from anyone on this committee for the witness? No? Okay. Seeing none, is there anyone else who is here to testify on behalf of Bill number 240215? And seeing none, if we could have the clerk call the next panel forward.
Again, Paula Bumbalow Burns, Director of Legislation, Philadelphia City Planning Commission.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 240216, introduced into City Council on March 21st, 2024 by Councilmember Lozada. Bill number 240216 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning of the area bounded by Somerset, Orkney, Cumberland, and 5th Streets in the Norris Square neighborhood of the North Planning District. The bill will rezone portions of the 2500 and 2700 blocks of North 5th Street. On the 2700 block, RSA 5 residential single family will be changing to CMX 2 commercial mixed-use zoning for a newly constructed commercial and residential building. On the 2500 blocks, CMX 2 commercial mixed-use zoning will expand to include a vacant commercial building and a former church that HASE will convert to 10 affordable dwelling units with commercial space. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 240216 at its public meeting on April 18, 2024, and recommended the bill for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from this committee? No? Okay. Any questions, or is there anyone else here to testify on behalf of Bill number 240216 whose name has not been called? Seeing none, I want to thank you for your testimony and have the clerk call the next panel on Bill number 240244.
Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation, Philadelphia City Planning Commission.
Please state your name and proceed.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 240244, introduced into City Council on April 4th, 2024, by Councilmember Young. Bill number 240244 amends the Philadelphia Zoning Code by amending Section 14-529 of the VDO 5th District Overlay. This bill will remove the exemption from the city's zoning code new landscaping requirements. The 5th Council District is the only district where the city's new landscaping rules do not apply. The current exemption creates confusion among applicants and plan reviewers and leads to delays in processing zoning applications. The exemption also removes a remedy for the mitigation of urban heat island effects in some of the hottest neighborhoods in the city. This bill will require the landscaping standards for zoning permits to apply throughout the 5th Council District, just as it does the rest of the city. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 240244 at its public meeting on April 18, 2024, and recommended the bill for approval. I will be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Okay, hearing your testimony, are there any questions from anyone, from any members of this committee? Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you, Chairwoman Bass. Thank you, Paula, for your testimony. I had a quick question about this legislation. Obviously, you know, I had sponsored the original legislation here. And so did you all receive a number of applications that would have or could have been eligible?
Yes, we get a fair amount of development still in the 5th District because that covers the area along the lower part of North Broad. It carries properties around Temple University. It carries properties to Spring Garden and Center City. So there were opportunities for landscaping that were not able to be met.
Okay.
Because of the code restriction.
Do you know how many?
No, I do not know off the top of my head. We can get that to you if needed.
Okay, that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Council Lady. Is there anyone else here to testify on the bill whose name has not been called? And hearing none, I want to thank the witness for her participation on Bill number 240244. And if we could have the clerk call the witnesses for 240247, our final bill.
Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation, Philadelphia City Planning Commission.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
I am Paula Brumbelow Burns, Director of Legislation for the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I am here to testify on Bill number 240247, introduced into City Council on April 4th, 2024, by Councilmember Driscoll. Bill number 240247 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning areas of land located within an area bounded by Kensington Avenue, Buckius Street, Frankfurt Avenue, and Tioga Street in the Harrogate neighborhood of the River Wards Planning District. The bill will rezone a section of Kensington Avenue to CMX3 commercial mixed use. It will allow properties closest to the Tioga and Erie-Torresdale stations on the Market-Frankfurt line to be redeveloped for higher density residential and commercial uses. This is one of the two companion bills. I'm going to strike this part of my testimony because the other bill has been withdrawn or not being heard, so I'm sorry, the last line I'm taking out. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 240247 at its public meeting on April 18th, 2024, and recommended the bill for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay. Is there anyone else here to testify on this bill whose name has not been called? And seeing none, I want to thank you for your testimony today and
you.
participation regarding Bill number 240247. There being no further witnesses, I will ask if there's anyone else here in chambers that wishes to testify on any of the bills that were before this committee today. Okay, and seeing none, we'll go into our public meeting once we get a quorum back. A brief intermission. Vote 'em out. Okay, cool. Say when. Okay, thank you for your patience. We'll now go into our public meeting. And the chair recognizes Councilmember Mark Squilla for for a motion on Bill number 240192.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the bill number 240192 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
The chair recognizes for the motion that Council members Gilmore, Richardson, and Driscoll both seconded the motion. It's now been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 240192 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Chair now recognizes Councilmember Squilla for a motion on Bill number 240215.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the bill number 240215 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Kathy Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion. It's been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 240215 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All of those in favor of this motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Chair recognizes Councilmember Squilla for a motion on Bill Number 240216.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill Number 240216 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended. I submit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Chair notes for the record that Councilmember Kathy Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion, and it's been moved and properly seconded that Bill Number 240216 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Chair recognizes Councilmember Squilla for a motion on Bill Number 240244.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill Number 240244 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to submit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Kathy Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion, and it's been moved and properly seconded that Bill Number 240244 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a motion on Bill Number 240247.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill Number 240247 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to submit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Kathy Gilmore Richardson seconds the motion, and it's been moved and properly seconded that Bill Number 240247 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. And if there's no additional remarks, this concludes the business of the Committee on Rules for today. Thank you very much for your attendance.